For 25 years, humanity has lived on the fringes of galactic politics, a member of the Galactic Trade Consortium, yet constantly sidelined by the power of 12 alien species. But all of that changes when Captain Elena Rodriguez makes a decision that will alter the course of history. When a massive energy source is discovered on the distant planet Kepler 442b, the GTC quickly claims it as their own, relegating humanity to nothing more than manual laborers on their own find. The final straw comes when the consortium demands humanity's entire fleet, citing galactic security. Refusing to bow any longer, Captain Rodriguez declares that diplomacy is dead, and humanity will no longer be the underdog. The seeds of rebellion are sown, and the galaxy will never be the same. The breaking point. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the exploration vessel Pioneer's Hope, watching the alien world of Kepler 442b rotate slowly beneath them. The planet's surface glowed with an unusual energy signature that had taken her team 3 months to locate. After 25 years of human membership in the Galactic Trade Consortium, this discovery could finally prove humanity's worth to the galaxy. Elena was a third-generation space explorer, her grandmother having been among the first humans to make contact with the consortium. At 38, she had spent half her life navigating the complex politics of galactic society, always fighting for recognition that seemed perpetually out of reach. Her dark hair was pulled back in the regulation style, and her brown eyes held the determination that had carried her through 15 years of space exploration. "Captain," called Lieutenant Commander Alex Park from the bridge. "We're getting readings unlike anything in the database. The energy output from those crystalline formations is off the charts." Elena made her way to the bridge, where her crew of 12 specialists worked at their stations. The Pioneer's Hope was one of humanity's newest exploration vessels, though compared to consortium standards, it was considered outdated technology. The ship's hull bore the blue and silver colors of the Human Exploration Corps, with Earth's flag displayed prominently on its sides. Dr. Michael Torres, the team's xenogeologist, looked up from his scanner with excitement evident in his voice. "Captain, I've never seen anything like this. These crystals aren't just storing energy, they're generating it. The quantum resonance patterns suggest this could power entire star systems." Elena felt her heart race. Energy was the lifeblood of galactic civilization, and most species depended on expensive fusion reactors or dangerous antimatter systems. A renewable energy source of this magnitude could revolutionize everything. "How much energy are we talking about?" she asked. "Conservative estimates put it at 10,000 times the output of our best fusion reactors," Torres replied. "And that's just from the surface formations. Deep scans suggest the entire planet's core is made of this material." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Every person present understood the implications. This discovery could make humanity one of the most important species in the galaxy. "Send the data to Earth immediately," Elena ordered. "Full encryption, priority 1, and prepare a detailed survey report." As the crew worked to compile their findings, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that their lives were about to change dramatically. She had seen how the consortium treated species that made significant discoveries. The Zelani had found the first hyperspace routes and were reduced to providing transportation services. The Korath had discovered advanced metallurgy and became the galaxy's factory workers. Each species that contributed something valuable found themselves specialized into that single role, their other potentials ignored. 3 hours later, the first consortium ships arrived. Elena watched through the viewports as massive vessels dropped out of hyperspace, their hulls bearing the insignia of 6 different species. The lead ship was a Thakari dreadnought, its crystalline structure gleaming in the light of Kepler 442b's star. "Captain Rodriguez," came a translated voice over the communication system. The speaker was High Administrator Zeth Ka, a Thakari leader Elena had encountered before during resource allocation meetings. "By order of the Galactic Trade Consortium, this planet and all its resources are now under senior species oversight. Your vessel will provide detailed scans and then assume support duties." Elena felt anger building in her chest, but she maintained her professional composure. "High Administrator, this discovery was made by human exploration efforts. We request recognition of discovery rights under consortium law. Discovery rights apply only to senior species, Zeth Ka replied coldly. Humans are classified as a support species. Your contribution is noted and appreciated. The communication ended abruptly, leaving Elena staring at the blank screen. Around her, the bridge crew exchanged glances of frustration and anger. They had risked their lives traveling to the edge of explored space, spent months analyzing energy readings, and made one of the most significant discoveries in galactic history. Now they were being dismissed like hired workers. Over the following weeks, Elena watched as consortium vessels established a massive mining operation on Kepler 442b. Human ships were assigned to transport supplies and ferry workers, while alien scientists studied the energy crystals. The planet that could have made humanity prosperous was turning into another source of labor contracts. Elena tried working through official channels, filing reports and appeals, but each request was denied with the same response. Support species do not qualify for resource ownership rights. The bureaucracy of the consortium was designed to keep younger species in their assigned roles. The situation grew worse when Dr. Torres was reassigned to manual crystal extraction. The brilliant scientist who had identified the energy source's potential was reduced to operating mining equipment under alien supervision. When he protested, he was threatened with expulsion from the planet entirely. "This is insane," Torres told Elena during a private moment in the ship's mess hall. "I discovered these crystals, analyzed their properties, and developed the extraction protocols. Now I'm being treated like an unskilled laborer." Elena had no answer. She had filed 17 official complaints and received 0 responses. The consortium's treatment of humanity was becoming more degrading with each passing day. The breaking point came 6 weeks after the discovery. Elena received an encrypted message from Admiral Marcus Chen on Earth, marked with the highest security classification. She read it in her private quarters, her hands trembling as she absorbed the words. The consortium had issued an ultimatum to humanity. All human military vessels were to be surrendered to consortium control within 30 days. The official reason was galactic security concerns, but the real message was clear. Humans were no longer trusted to operate their own defenses. They would become a completely dependent species, relying on alien protection and alien decisions for their survival. Elena stared at the message for a long time, thinking about her grandmother's stories of first contact. The elderly woman had spoken of hope and dreams of humanity joining a community of species, working together for mutual benefit. Instead, they had found themselves trapped in a system designed to exploit their contributions while denying them any real voice in their own fate. She walked to her small viewport and looked out at Kepler 442b, where human workers labored under alien oversight to extract resources that would never benefit their own people. The planet's energy could have powered human colonies for thousands of years, funded exploration of new worlds, and given humanity the resources to develop new technologies. Instead, it would make the consortium's senior species even wealthier, while humans remained dependent on their scraps. Elena made her decision. She activated the ship's internal communication system and called all hands to the main cargo bay. Her crew of 12 gathered, their faces showing the strain of weeks of frustration and degrading treatment. "I've received new orders from Earth," she began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to say. "The consortium is demanding that humanity surrender all military vessels. We're to become a completely dependent species with no means of self-defense." Murmurs of anger and disbelief filled the cargo bay. Lieutenant Commander Park stepped forward. "Captain, what are our orders?" Elena looked around at each face, seeing the same determination she felt burning inside herself. These were good people who had volunteered for the dangers of deep space exploration because they believed in humanity's potential. They deserved better than a future of permanent subjugation. "Our orders are to refuse," she said simply. "We're going home, and we're taking our discovery data with us." The cargo bay erupted in conversation as the crew processed this information. Dr. Torres raised his hand. "Captain, the consortium ships won't let us leave. They'll consider this theft of their resources." Then we make sure they can't stop us, Elena replied. Park, how quickly can we modify our engines for maximum acceleration? Give me 2 hours, Park responded without hesitation. Elena nodded. Torres, download every bit of data we've collected. Everything about the crystals, the extraction methods, the energy output measurements, all of it. As her crew scattered to their tasks, Elena remained in the cargo bay, knowing she had just made the most important decision of her life. Humanity had spent 25 years trying to earn respect through cooperation and compliance. Now it was time to try something different. 3 hours later, the Pioneer's Hope broke orbit without authorization, accelerating toward human space at maximum velocity. Behind them, consortium ships scrambled to respond, but Elena's vessel had a head start, and Park's modifications had increased their speed beyond standard specifications. As they entered hyperspace, Elena sent a single message to Earth. Discovery data transmitted, refusing surrender order, request instructions. The response came 12 hours later from Admiral Chen himself. Return home. It's time to remind the galaxy what humans are really capable of. Elena smiled as she read the message. The age of human compliance was ending. What came next would determine whether humanity found its place as equals in the galaxy or carved out that place by force. The Stand Admiral Marcus Chen stood in the command center of Earth's primary orbital defense platform, watching the holographic display that showed the positions of ships throughout human space. Red dots represented consortium blockade fleets positioned at every major human colony. Blue dots showed human vessels, scattered and outnumbered but not defeated. In the 6 weeks since Captain Rodriguez's defiance at Kepler 442b, the situation had escalated beyond anyone's expectations. Marcus was 54 years old, a career military officer who had spent 30 years preparing for a conflict he had hoped would never come. His gray-streaked black hair and weathered face showed the stress of recent weeks, but his dark eyes remained sharp and determined. As Earth's highest-ranking military commander, he bore the responsibility of protecting 4 billion humans across 47 star systems. Admiral, called Commander Sarah Mills from the communications station, we're receiving reports from the Centauri colonies. The consortium blockade is preventing food shipments from reaching the outer settlements. They're demanding complete surrender of all human vessels before they'll allow humanitarian supplies through. Marcus clenched his jaw. The consortium was using humanity's own people as leverage, threatening starvation to force compliance with their demands. It was a tactic that revealed the true nature of their supposed allies. What's the status of Operation Prometheus? Marcus asked. Mills consulted her displays. Dr. Kim's team reports they're ahead of schedule. The first prototype should be ready for testing within 72 hours. For 3 years, Dr. Sarah Kim had been working on a classified project in the asteroid belt, developing technology that could change the balance of power in any conflict. Her work was based on theoretical physics that most alien species had dismissed as impossible, but human scientists had a different perspective on impossibility. Dr. Kim herself was currently aboard the research station hidden in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. At 42, she was considered one of humanity's brightest minds, a quantum physicist who had spent her career studying the fundamental forces that held the universe together. Her discovery could make human ships capable of things the consortium had never imagined. Admiral, came Dr. Kim's voice over the secure communication channel, we've achieved stable quantum field disruption. The effect is exactly what we predicted. Alien shields operate on harmonic frequencies that we can now destabilize at the molecular level. Marcus felt a surge of hope. How effective is it? Complete neutralization of standard consortium defensive systems, Kim replied. Their shields simply cease to function when exposed to our quantum field generators. We can essentially turn off their defenses. The implications were staggering. For 25 years, human military doctrine had been based on the assumption that consortium technology was superior. Human ships were smaller, less armed, and less protected than their alien counterparts. But if they could neutralize alien defenses while maintaining their own, the playing field would be dramatically different. How many ships can we equip? Marcus asked. The first production run will outfit 30 vessels, Kim said. But Admiral, there's something else. The quantum field effect works both ways. We can also amplify our own defensive systems to levels that exceed anything the consortium has. Marcus turned to his tactical officer, Colonel James Wright. Colonel, if we had 30 ships with the capabilities Dr. Kim describes, what could we accomplish? Wright studied the holographic display showing consortium positions. We could break the blockade at Centauri and establish a secure corridor for supply runs. But Admiral, we'd be committing to open warfare with the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. The consortium committed to warfare when they threatened to starve our colonies, Marcus replied. The question is whether we fight as equals or as victims. The debate was interrupted by an urgent communication from Commander Jake Thompson, who led the underground resistance network that had formed throughout human space. Thompson operated from a hidden base in the Outer Rim, coordinating with resistance cells on every human world. Admiral Chen, Thompson's voice crackled through the encrypted channel. We've got a situation developing at the Centauri Gate. 3 human freighters tried to run the blockade with medical supplies. The consortium ships opened fire. Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. Casualties? The freighter New Horizons was destroyed with all hands. 37 people, including 12 medical personnel. The other 2 ships surrendered and are being held. The command center fell silent. The consortium had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. They had killed human civilians carrying medical supplies to their own people. Any pretense of this being a peaceful enforcement action was now gone. How long until our ships can reach Centauri? Marcus asked. 18 hours if we push maximum velocity, Wright replied. Marcus made his decision. Dr. Kim, how quickly can you install your quantum systems on our fastest ships? Give me 12 hours, came the response. Do it. Colonel Wright, prepare Strike Package Alpha. We're going to Centauri, and we're going to remind the consortium that humans don't surrender. 12 hours later, a fleet of 28 human vessels approached the Centauri Gate, where a consortium blockade force of 43 ships waited in formation. The alien fleet included vessels from 6 different species, representing the combined military might of the galaxy's most powerful alliance. Captain Elena Rodriguez commanded the lead ship, her Pioneer's Hope now equipped with Dr. Kim's quantum field generator. Beside her flew ships crewed by some of humanity's most experienced officers, each vessel carrying technology that the consortium couldn't imagine. Consortium Fleet, this is Captain Rodriguez of the Human Exploration Corps, Elena transmitted on all frequencies. You are illegally blockading human space and have fired on civilian vessels. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The response came from Admiral Vorth Ka of the Thakari Fleet. Human vessels, you are outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender immediately or we will disable your ships and take your crews prisoner. Elena looked at her tactical display. 43 alien ships against 28 human vessels. By every conventional measure, it should have been a massacre. But convention was about to become irrelevant. All ships, this is Rodriguez. Activate quantum field generators and prepare for combat. Show them what humans can do when we're pushed too far. The first salvo came from the consortium fleet, massive energy beams that should have overwhelmed human defenses. Instead, something unprecedented happened. The human ship's shields absorbed the alien weapons fire and converted it into additional power for their own systems. Shields at 150% and climbing, reported Lieutenant Commander Park. The quantum field is working exactly as predicted. Elena smiled grimly. Return fire. Target their command ship. The human response shocked the consortium fleet. Instead of the primitive kinetic weapons they expected, human ships fired quantum-enhanced energy beams that passed through alien shields as if they didn't exist. The Thakari command ship's defenses simply ceased to function, leaving it vulnerable to devastating counterattack. Across the battle zone, the same pattern repeated. Human ships that should have been destroyed in the opening minutes not only survived, but began systematically dismantling the consortium blockade. Alien vessels found their shields useless while human defenses grew stronger with every enemy attack. This is impossible, Admiral Vorth Ka transmitted on the emergency frequency. Your technology cannot be superior to ours. Elena's response was broadcast to every ship in the system. We didn't make our technology superior, Admiral. We made it different. That's what humans do. We think differently. The battle lasted 4 hours, ending with 26 consortium ships disabled or destroyed, and the remainder retreating in disorder. Human losses were minimal, with only 3 vessels suffering serious damage and no casualties. The victory was so complete that it seemed almost impossible. But the implications went far beyond military success. Word of the battle spread throughout the galaxy within days, carried by independent traders and journalists who had witnessed human ships defeating the mighty consortium fleet. For the first time in galactic history, a junior species had not only resisted the consortium, but had won decisively. On distant worlds where other species had endured centuries of consortium exploitation, the news sparked something that had been dormant for generations: hope. If humans could stand up to the galaxy's most powerful alliance and win, perhaps change was possible. Dr. Kim's quantum technology was rapidly installed on more human vessels, while Commander Thompson's resistance network expanded to include sympathizers from 8 different species. The galaxy was beginning to see that the consortium's power was not absolute. Admiral Chen received a communication from the Korath homeworld 3 days after the battle. Admiral Chen, this is General Korthva of the Korath Defense Force. We have observed your recent actions with great interest. The Korath people seek to discuss mutual cooperation against common enemies. Similar messages arrived from the Zelani Navigation Guild, the Vex Research Collectives, and the Brick Mining Confederations. Species that had been forced into specialized roles by the consortium were beginning to consider alternatives. Marcus realized that humanity had done more than win a battle. They had started a revolution that could reshape the entire galaxy. The question now was whether they were prepared for the consequences of their success. Admiral, Commander Mills reported, long-range sensors are detecting massive fleet movements from consortium core worlds. It looks like they're mobilizing their entire military force. Marcus nodded grimly. The consortium would not allow their authority to be challenged without response. The real war was just beginning. Send a message to all human colonies, he ordered. Tell them to prepare for siege, and get me a direct line to Dr. Kim. We're going to need more miracles. As Earth's defenses prepared for the coming storm, Marcus reflected on how quickly everything had changed. 6 weeks ago, humanity had been trying to earn respect through compliance and cooperation. Now they were leading a galactic revolution against oppression. The age of human submission was over. The age of human leadership was just beginning. Revolution's dawn. 6 months after the Battle of Centauri Gate, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. Ambassador Lisa Chen stood in the conference room of Freedom Station, a massive space platform that had become the headquarters of the Free Worlds Alliance. Through the viewports, she could see ships from 23 different species docked at the station's arms, representing the largest coalition of independent worlds in galactic history. Lisa was Admiral Marcus Chen's younger sister, but her battles were fought with words rather than weapons. At 45, she had spent 20 years in diplomatic service, learning to navigate the complex politics of galactic society. Her patient negotiations had turned humanity's military victories into lasting political change. Ambassador, called Dr. Rachel Torres, the station's chief administrator. Representatives from the Helix Nebula systems have arrived. That brings our total membership to 47 species and over 300 independent worlds. Lisa nodded, reviewing the data on her tablet. The Free Worlds Alliance had grown from desperate resistance to genuine alternative to consortium rule. Each new member brought unique capabilities and perspectives that strengthened the coalition. What's the status of the Nexus Prime operation? Lisa asked. Admiral Chen reports the fleet is in position, Torres replied. Dr. Kim's latest modifications to the quantum field technology are installed and tested. We're ready to proceed when you give the word. The plan was audacious beyond anything attempted in galactic history. Nexus Prime was the consortium's capital world, home to their primary government facilities and the largest military shipyard in the galaxy. A direct assault on such a target would have been considered impossible just months ago, But human innovation had changed the rules of warfare. Dr. Sarah Kim had continued developing her quantum field technology, creating new applications that exceeded even her original predictions. Human ships could now not only neutralize alien defenses, but could render entire enemy fleets inoperative by disrupting the quantum fields that powered their systems. "Ambassador Chen," came Admiral Marcus's voice over the secure communication channel. "The reconnaissance data confirms our intelligence. The consortium has concentrated 60% of their remaining fleet at Nexus Prime. If we can disable their primary shipyard and government center, we'll effectively end their ability to maintain galactic control." Lisa studied the tactical display showing the massive consortium fleet orbiting Nexus Prime. Over 200 warships from 12 different species, representing the largest concentration of military power in galactic history. Against them, the Free Worlds Alliance could deploy 93 ships, still outnumbered but carrying technology that could neutralize the enemy's advantages. "Marcus, what are our chances?" she asked her brother. "With conventional weapons, we'd be massacred," he replied honestly. "But Dr. Kim's quantum disruptors can shut down their entire fleet simultaneously. The question isn't whether we can win the battle, but whether we can win the peace that follows." That was the heart of Lisa's mission. Military victory was meaningless without a plan for building something better in the aftermath. The Alliance had spent months developing a new model of galactic governance based on equality and cooperation, rather than domination and exploitation. "Dr. Kim," Lisa called to the physicist who was monitoring the operation from her laboratory. "Are you confident in the planetary-scale quantum field generator?" "The calculations are solid," Kim replied. "We can disable every electronic system on Nexus Prime for up to 6 hours. Their shields, weapons, communications, even basic life support will be offline. It should be enough time to take control of their government facilities without significant casualties." The plan was designed to minimize bloodshed while maximizing political impact. Rather than destroying the consortium's capital, they would capture it intact and use its communication networks to broadcast a message of liberation to every world in the galaxy. "All stations report ready," Admiral Chen announced. "Alliance fleet is moving into position." Lisa activated the general communication channel. "All Alliance forces, this is Ambassador Chen. Today we're not just fighting for our own freedom, but for the freedom of every species that has suffered under consortium oppression. Our goal is not conquest, but liberation, not revenge, but justice. Show the galaxy what cooperation can accomplish." The assault on Nexus Prime began with Dr. Kim's quantum field generator creating a massive disruption wave that swept across the planet and its orbital defenses. Within seconds, the most heavily defended world in the galaxy went dark. Consortium ships drifted powerless in space while planetary defense systems shut down completely. Admiral Chen's fleet moved through the disabled defenses like ghosts through walls. Human ships equipped with backup quantum shields maintained full operational capability, while their enemies floated helplessly. It was the most one-sided battle in galactic military history. "This is Admiral Chen to all consortium vessels," Marcus broadcast on all frequencies. "Your weapons and defenses are disabled. Surrender immediately and your crews will be treated with dignity and respect. Resist and face the consequences." Most alien commanders, facing the complete failure of their technology, chose surrender. Within 2 hours, the orbital defense of Nexus Prime had capitulated without significant casualties on either side. The planetary assault was equally decisive. Alliance Marines, led by Commander Jake Thompson, secured the primary government complex, while consortium officials were still trying to understand what had happened to their technology. The quantum field disruption had been so complete that even basic communication systems were offline. Lisa accompanied the first wave of diplomatic personnel to the planet's surface, walking through the corridors of power that had controlled galactic civilization for over 1,000 years. The Consortium Council Chamber, where humanity had been dismissed and degraded for 25 years, was now occupied by representatives of the Free Worlds Alliance. "Ambassador," reported Thompson from the communication center, "we've restored basic systems and established contact with every major world in the galaxy. We're ready to broadcast your message." Lisa took her position before the primary transmission array, knowing that her words would reach billions of beings across thousands of worlds. She thought of Captain Rodriguez, whose defiance at Kepler 442b had started this revolution. She thought of Dr. Kim, whose scientific breakthrough had made victory possible. She thought of all the humans and aliens who had risked everything for the chance at freedom. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice carried by the most powerful communication network ever built. "The age of consortium oppression is over. The Free Worlds Alliance offers a new model of galactic civilization based on equality, cooperation, and mutual respect." She paused, letting the implications sink in across countless worlds. No species will be forced into servitude. No world will be exploited for the benefit of others. No people will be denied the right to determine their own destiny. We invite every species to join us in building a galaxy where diversity is celebrated and cooperation is rewarded. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Independence movements erupted on dozens of worlds. Consortium governors found themselves facing peaceful demonstrations demanding free elections. Species that had been oppressed for centuries suddenly saw hope for genuine self-determination. The Korath were among the first to formally join the alliance, followed quickly by the Zelani, the Vex, and the Brick. Even some former consortium core species began requesting membership, their populations tired of the corruption and inequality that had defined galactic politics for centuries. Dr. Kim's technology was shared freely with all alliance members, fulfilling humanity's promise that cooperation would be rewarded with advancement rather than exploitation. The quantum field generators that had won the war became the foundation for new energy systems that could power entire civilizations without environmental damage. 3 months after the liberation of Nexus Prime, Lisa stood in the same chamber where consortium leaders had once dictated terms to subject species. Now it housed the Alliance Council, where representatives from 67 species worked together to address galactic challenges. The circular seating arrangement ensured that no species sat above any other, symbolizing the equality that defined the new order. "The motion to establish universal education standards passes unanimously," announced the session moderator, a Vex mathematician whose species had developed the most advanced computational systems in the galaxy. "All Alliance worlds will have access to the educational resources and technologies needed to develop their full potential." Lisa smiled as she watched former enemies working together to solve problems that the consortium had ignored for centuries. Humanity had not sought to replace alien dominance with human dominance. Instead, they had created something entirely new. A galactic civilization based on the radical idea that every species had something valuable to contribute. Admiral Chen visited the station regularly, overseeing the peaceful integration of former consortium fleets into the Alliance Defense Force. Many alien officers had requested to serve under human command, intrigued by tactical innovations that had defeated supposedly superior technology. "The Thakari Admiral Vorth Ka wants to meet with you," Marcus told his sister during one of his visits. "He says he wants to understand how humans think so differently about warfare." "What did you tell him?" Lisa asked. "That we don't think differently about warfare," Marcus replied. "We think differently about everything. That's what makes cooperation so powerful. Every species brings unique perspectives that none of us could develop alone." The alliance continued to grow as more species abandoned the collapsing consortium system. The old order's attempt to maintain control through force had failed completely when their military technology proved useless against human quantum field generators. Within a year, the consortium existed only as a minor political faction on a handful of worlds, while the alliance encompassed most of galactic civilization. Captain Elena Rodriguez, now Admiral Rodriguez, commanded the alliance exploration fleet that pushed into previously forbidden regions of space. Her ships carried mixed crews from dozens of species, working together to discover new worlds and new possibilities. The energy crystals of Kepler 442b had become the foundation for clean power systems that benefited every alliance member equally. "Admiral," called Dr. Torres, now the alliance's chief scientist, during one of their deep space missions. "We're detecting signs of another galaxy-spanning civilization beyond the outer rim. They're transmitting what appears to be mathematical proofs. Elena studied the data, remembering her grandmother's stories about humanity's first contact with galactic civilization. "Prepare a response transmission," she ordered. "Let them know they're about to meet a galaxy where strength serves justice and cooperation creates possibilities that no species could achieve alone." As the message traveled toward unknown civilizations, Elena reflected on how far humanity had come. They had entered galactic society as junior partners seeking acceptance. They had become leaders not through conquest, but through the radical idea that everyone deserved an equal voice in their own destiny. The galaxy had learned that pushing humanity too far didn't just provoke resistance. It provoked revolution. And that revolution had transformed a universe based on oppression into one founded on the infinite possibilities that emerged when free beings chose to work together. The age of dominance was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And at its heart were humans who had refused to accept that strength meant the right to rule others, proving instead that true strength meant the wisdom to serve justice for all.